Everybody, welcome to another GT project. Uh, brother Julius, can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you ever so clearly.
Okay, all right. So I had to apologize to you, bro. Last week was somewhat of a disaster on my side, so I just thought it was fair to go ahead and do this show again, but you know, to make sure everything was dressed right, dress. So I
Mhm.
do apologize for the hiccup last week.
Mm. It's okay. Stuff happens. I'm glad that we're pursuing what we're pursuing, but stuff happens.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get into this disclaimer, and basically, I'm not going to read through the whole thing. I just want to tell everybody why I do this, why I do it this way. I understand the type of discussions that I hold, and I understand that there's a lot of people who don't agree with a lot. I won't say a lot, but some of the things that I talk about, which is okay because everybody has their own opinions. But what I don't want to do is get Paradigm Shift TV 314 in trouble for, what I'm saying, any misinformation that might go out there, or and I do my best to try to avoid sensitive information. So pretty much this disclaimer is why I do this. So the things that I talk about is not on the head of Paradigm Shift TV 314. It is my opinion, and as I always say, I'm welcome and open to any type of correction. So, moving ahead. Anything you want to say, Julius?
Just that I am, of course, excited about what we're going to be discussing. Um, I just had to do something real quick, but just really excited about what we're going to be discussing and the things we're going to be pulling. I'm very humbled and excited to finally be a part of Paradigm Shift TV. I thank God for DMG and his wife and family. Um, I'm really grateful to be on here, and of course, I'm grateful to UG for inviting me on to talk about what we're talking about. I want to say personally, let me say this too. I want to say personally that I thank God for God Himself, but I thank God for uh, my wife and my mother in love. Uh, I thank God for both of them. So, with that being said, yeah.
Hey, you know what? Respect, bro. Same thing to my wife. Hey, baby, I love you. Uh, hey, don't spend all that money in one place. No, let me stop. Oh boy, but yeah, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. And again, I appreciate you doing this with me.
Mhm.
So again, this was the part where I always tell people, my worldview is pretty much biblical, and so when it comes to the conspiracy theories or conspiratorial view of history, of course, yes, my foundation is always going to be biblical. Which you want to add to that, Julius?
That the same thing. My presuppositions are biblical. Even when we talk about the conspiratorial view of history, I would argue that if you have a biblical worldview, you will be at least open to the fact that things happen conspiratorially, that there is a demonic presence in history that moves things um, in a sense as it wills. And I say in a sense because overall, God is the one in control. But because we live in a fallen world, He allows certain things to take place, and one of which is, um, people in high places do things of a demonic sort. The Bible calls Satan the God of this world. That doesn't mean he's God, but he is called the God of this world. And so we have to recognize that. We have to understand that. And we have to understand what that means. So that's what I would say.
Roger that. So, just a small technical issue. My laptop just kicked off the PowerPoint, so I'm gonna bring it back up. But you do make an excellent point.
Mhm.
Um, as far as like our 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 concept or our understanding about, at least now, the history, the things that have happened
Mhm.
uh, in our past, in our country.
Mhm.
Surely, I asked the question: Was did it happen by accident, or was it planned? Okay, let me pull this up real quick. And next time, I think I'm gonna jump on my son's PC.
Okay.
It's a gaming PC. So, all right. So let me know if it's back up. Okay, I see it. I see it.
Okay.
All right. So let's just keep going.
Okay.
It's acting like it don't want to work. All right. All right. So while this is loading up, I think I was talking about on the last show how when I went to Iraq, um, while I was over there, I got hold of a book called The Savage Nation, and the person that you see here in front of you, his name is Michael Savage.
Mhm.
If no one from, well, if you all have not from the last show uh, didn't go and do some research on this man, I promise you, you will not be disappointed. He he's staunch, very vocal about what he believes, and for the most part, he's the one who introduced me to this whole concept of what liberalism is. Um, the way that he described it, bro, he says that like an example of a liberal would be one who would look at a child who takes his feces and spreads it on the wall. And then the mother and the father would then go and say, "Oh, look at Johnny. He is such an artist." But a conservative parent will probably discipline that child. And
Mhm.
that's how I came into that understanding. Uh, could you help? Could you help fill in some uh, information about your understanding what liberalism is?
Well, um, not to get too scientific or too technical, but there's a difference between a classical liberal and a what we know now as a liberal, a progressive liberalist. Um, a what we know now as liberal is kind of like what you said. They'll they'll find reasons to make things that are abhorrent, beautiful. You know, um, they have a liberal view of the Constitution where it's evolving. We don't get to original intent. Um, we don't get to see. There's really nothing wrong, and those that say that there is have never read it. But there's really nothing wrong with the Constitution itself. If you look at the Constitution, um, it actually calls everyone to higher level. Dr. King himself even said, you know, um, you know, and I'm not one of these people that uses him I try not to use him as a talking point. But he did say, somewhere I read, so he appealed to the Constitution when he talked about the liberty of black people. He appealed to the Constitution. He didn't reject the Constitution. Um, Again, when you look at the Constitution, it is the most, um, when it comes to man, now I'm not talking about just ever, but when it comes to mankind, it is a very liberty oriented document. Now, is it a perfect document? No. I even believe that there's some deception involved in it, but that's something that we'll have to get to later. But I think that um, I'll go ahead and say this. I think that it was put in place to give mankind a choice of whether to choose liberty or to have the means in the Constitution to hang themselves. So there you go.
Okay. So as far as like liberalism, to like, okay, Myron Fagan, we're gonna get into him later on, and
Right,
he brings up the question about, for a person who consider themselves to be a liberal, he
right,
says make sure that that person is not a red.
right.
And I'm assuming that based on the context and the historical context of his time, communism was a really big uh, thing at his time, and so he was
Well,
stating he was stating that some liberal or some communists hide under the umbrella or auspice of being liberal, but in
well,
reality, they are red communists. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but if you look back at Norman Thomas, who ran twice on I want to say the socialist ticket, and he said he reportedly said Americans will never adopt socialism, but under liberalism, they'll adopt every tenet of the Socialist Party till one day America wakes up a socialist nation not knowing how it happened.
Oh, that's deep. Yeah,
So,
I remember that quote.
that quote is in Abraham Everson's book, The Unseen Hand, which is a book I would recommend to just anybody, just to get a basic understanding of that view of
Okay.
history. The Unseen Hand.
Okay. Good. So again, now I don't have the Savage Nation book
Mhm,
because, like I said in the last show, it got destroyed in the tornado.
mhm,
But I did have his book Scorched Earth, and he says a whole lot. And again, this is a book that Michael Savage wrote right after Obama and right before, I believe, Trump.
mhm,
And so some of the things that he warned about in this book, um, for example, how they was trying, how he believed that they was going to try to lift Kamala Harris up to be president. And remember, he wrote this book before this election, and it's funny, like looking at it, what, 4 to 6 something years later, and see that that's what they actually did. I feel
mhm,
like I can trust what Michael Savage is talking about,
mhm,
just based off of that, because we have a standard for prophets, and I'm not saying he's a prophet,
mhm,
but Bible says that if a man says something in the name of the Lord and it doesn't happen, don't be afraid of that man, because I didn't send him.
mhm,
But he said, if the thing comes to pass of which I told him, then yes, you may trust that prophet. Again, not saying that Michael Savage is a prophet, but what I'm saying is that there's a standard. If a
mhm,
person says that they can foresee some things taking place and then they actually take place, we got to give credit to where credit is due. And in his book, he pointed out subversion groups. Before I go on, would do you want to expound on the concept of subversion groups and some of the nefarious things that they do, or I can
mhm.
just move on into it?
Well, and it kind of goes with I'm going to read, and I'm going to just dwell on it a little bit, like I did on the last one, just a little bit more. Um, the number one subversive group in this country is the tax exempt foundations. The tax exempt foundations. It is a power elite strategy to use something good sounding for nefarious purposes. I'm going to say it again. It's a power elite strategy to use something good sounding, that sounds good, for nefarious purposes. And philanthropy sounds good. On the surface, it does. It sounds good. You're going to give to the poor. That's just a great person. But below the surface is used for nefarious purposes. Like the Rockefeller Foundation, the Ford Foundation, the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, later on, the Gates Foundation, the Soros Open Society. Uh, watch these foundations. Watch them more than you watch presidents. Uh, you see what presidents do and everything like that, but you need to watch what foundations do and what they participate in. And I'm gonna say this too. Sometimes you'll see where they do good, and sometimes you'll see where they do bad. You know,
Yeah.
you want to question the good, and you definitely want to look in the bad. I will say this: it is believed by one researcher that one of the reasons they do that is to have a balancing of deeds, because their core belief system is Gnosticism. Um, this idea that superior knowledge, or superior secret knowledge helps you understand the secrets of the world, and also gives you power over the masses, essentially. And so I'm giving you the essential definitions, um,
Okay.
you know, but uh, but I will say with these foundations, the key is in the foundations. Like I said in the last program, this is not something I'm making up. You can look it up. You can look it up. You can look up in 19, I think 53. They did a thing before Congress called the Reese Congressional Committee Investigation of 1953. It's over like
You know,
2,000
that's
pages. Go ahead.
that's interesting. That's interesting because seeing what Trump is doing with Elon Musk, right?
Right,
Now,
right.
my opinion on this is maybe somebody else could have been hired to do this, and maybe he assisted.
Mm,
Um, but in reality, it's something that needed to happen. You need somebody on the outside to come investigate those that's on the inside. And I think these subversion groups definitely need to be hit, like USA. That was
mm.
one of those subversion groups.
Well,
And if
it, the web goes deep because these a lot of these subversion groups are used by the Central Intelligence Agency. There's a book by I don't have time to get into all of it, but there's a book written by L. Fletcher Prouty called The Secret Team by L. Fletcher. I'm telling you this so you get these books. L. Fletcher Prouty called The Secret Team, where he says basically that a core part of the not all of the intelligence community, because we got some good people in the intelligence community, but there's a core part of it that controls that has control basically. Uh, he calls it the secret team. You know, um, when you really research what this is all about, you know that excuse me, that the intelligence agencies are arms of the elite, of the power elite. That's all they are. That's all they are. And
I think last week we referred to that properly as the oligarchy.
yes, yes, um, exactly. And so, um, if again you do the history, there's a definite connection. Psychological Warfare in the New World Order by Servando Gonzalez goes into it. The Old Boys. I forgot the name of the author. I wish I remembered the name of the author, but look up The Old Boys, and it gives the connection between the Central Intelligence Agency and the elite. I hope I'm not going too fast, but um, but if you get that, and then of course again you get the 1953 investigation. It goes into
Oh, you like
uh,
on
so
that?
what now? So what now? Okay, I'm not hearing you. Well, while I'm waiting, check that.
Check that. Be right back.
Okay.
Right back.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha.
All right. Are we good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay, yeah. Got a phone call,
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
and I see that I have the skull and bones up.
Okay.
Okay, so okay, what we doing? What we doing? What we doing? All right. Hopefully everything's good now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry about that little issue,
Hmm.
but um, so the subversive groups you said one was the tax exempt
Yeah.
association,
Yeah.
and then but another thing that because I had Soros up. The reason why I had Soros in there is because, of course, Michael Savage. We're talking about 2003.
Hmm.
When it was 2003 when I had his book Savage Nation,
Yeah.
and then to see George Soros in his book uh, right after Obama,
Hmm.
and to have been hearing about George Soros
Hmm.
nefarious behavior and actions, not just in our country, but in other countries as well. Uh, it was I wasn't surprised, but I was like, why hasn't this man been arrested yet? If we can
Hmm.
tie money, for example, like again during Trump's administration, you remember that time when they was delivering bricks to the riots,
Yeah. I remember that. Hmm. And
and the
it's right
people,
in front of people's faces, and people are not paying attention to it. I guess because they're paying so much attention to other stuff. But no one, not many people really ask the question, why are they delivering bricks to this riot?
yeah,
You
and
know,
and then and then the crazy part was that some of the people weren't even from the areas where those riots were taking place, and so they were being bussed out there. According to some sources, uh, it was George Soros who was providing the rides, the bus rides for these people to go riot.
there was the Sunrise Movement and one other organization, and of course Black Lives Matter. But this
And,
this
and
was this was already organized. That's what people don't understand. This was organized before they took it to the streets. That's why everything was in place when they did take it to the streets. They had riots all over the world
yeah,
because it was already organized. It was
see,
already organized. Now. Of course, there's um, there's some things in between we need to understand, but to make a long story short, they already organized it, and
right.
and it didn't have the legs. It wouldn't have the legs it had if it wasn't for the foundations providing. the funds for them to do it. It was George Soros was one of the main people.
Con-
But
contributors.
after that, there were other people that provided funds too. I mean,
Mm,
and these were these were white people. These were white billionaires,
yeah.
you know, and they weren't doing it because they were blowing us kisses.
Nah.
They
I,
they were
I,
using our struggle against us. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
exactly. Exactly. Um. So again, right at this part, this is where I was not re-emphasizing, but going over the time right after I got out. I'm not got out, but returned home, and I went AGR, and I ended up in a unit in Greensboro, North Carolina. Now, Greensboro, let me tell you about Greensboro, North Carolina. It is a college city.
Mm-hmm.
So you will find all types of societies in that city.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and the predominant one that I always ran into was Freemasons, especially Freemasons of the Prince Hall kind, the Prince Hall Masons.
Right.
Um, so, I would often get into these debates with them. And, like I told you, I was defending the war and everything. And it was like, Hawkins, you don't know what you're talking about. Because if you think George Bush is a Christian, then you got another thing coming.
Right.
So, I went and did my research. And again, I found out that he was part of the Skulls and Bones. And then you revealed something to me that I didn't know. And that was that the organization had been started by drug money.
Right.
That is crazy.
Right.
Drug money. Drug money. And on top of that, the rumors that they done took the skull of the Native American Geronimo. I don't know if that's myth or true. I don't know, but it's rumored. But to see that they started this organization with drug money, I wouldn't put it past them to go. I wouldn't put it past them that they would go into somebody's grave and take their skull. I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
put it past them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, um, the two most well-known college secret societies are the Milner Group and Skull and Bones. What I found out listening to True Stream Media, who is a media outlet that I listen to, is that there are secret societies at different elite universities. There's more than Skull and Bones at Yale, for instance. Now, Skull and Bones is the most powerful, but they also have Scrolling Key. They also have Wolf's Head. They different society. They have one called the Manuscript Society. You know, I'm going off my dome here, but if you do the history, um, there are societies that were started in Germany, ironically.
Mm,
Uh, and this is the the blueprint basically for what was started in America. And so it's become a normality for these secret societies to be in college campuses.
mm.
And there are a lot of them. It's hard to research, but you can research this. I have the one on college secret societies by True Stream Media. I have that on my YouTube channel, so you can just go on my YouTube. Julius Rhinehart. Go on my YouTube channel and check it out and watch it. But Skull and Bones was started by the opium trade. El Huyel, the person who started Yale University, was a member of the British East India Company. The British East India Company was involved in the opium trade.
All right, let me ask this question.
Yeah.
I don't think I was able to ask last time, but
Okay.
opium,
Yeah.
the poppy plant, right?
Right.
I don't know where it was coming from then, but I do know that uh, most of the poppy
Yeah,
today in our modern times is coming from Afghanistan,
it is
and
correct.
that poppy or that plant, the
Mhm.
production of that plant went up tremendously after the Iraqi War,
Right,
which coincidentally led to more drug addictions, not just in that country, but there's evidence that that it was distributed into Europe and into the United States.
right.
So where was the poppy coming from then?
It was. I know England was distributing it. I don't know whether I don't know exactly where they were getting it from. I want to say uh I want to say no, I can't say that. Can't say that. I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to mistake.
I got a feeling. I got a feeling it's either coming from the same place or somewhere, within that same vicinity. Now, because
Mhm.
now that it's dawning on me, uh, thinking about the hair. What was it? The Chinese got addicted to
Opium.
heroin, right? Opium.
It was opium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and it kind of seems like because when you said Britain, I think it was Britain who was bringing
To Italy. Yes. Yes. And the people that were doing it were among them were the elite people of Britain and some of the merchants of the U.S.
mm, okay, okay, all
At
right.
some point, they got involved in opium, and so um, this history goes back. It goes back even when you deal with. I won't get on it too much, but when you deal with the slave trade, that um, the elite were involved in the slave trade.
It's this elite, it's this oligarchy that seems to
Right.
be at play at every turn that we look. Like everywhere we look, every layer that we peel back, there's an oligarchy, there's an elite that's doing something secretly, right?
Right.
Okay.
And that's something that people need to understand. It's something that's in one way or another that and the reason I say one way or another because it's went through changes, but it's one way or another. It's a historical thing. It's it's something that has existed.
All right. So we got plenty of time, bro. Everything is looking good on my side. Let's continue. I'm
Mhm.
gonna read this right off the screen, and we just go right into it. So, he
Yeah.
says here, this is from the Unseen Hand, an introduction to the conspiratorial view of history. And
Mhm.
so, just want to let the listeners know, anybody who listens to this later, uh, this is what we're definitely pointing to is that some of the things that we are talking about uh, seem to have had an agenda behind it, and not things that have happened by accident. And at least within the confines of American history, we could probably go back further than that, but I would say right around the birth of the Enlightenment era.
Right.
For some reason, I feel like this unseen hand has been at play. But let me read what it says here. Wars start when one nation moves into the territory of another. America goes into Iraq. Depressions occur when markets take unexpected downturns. Inflation that happened during the housing crisis. When inflation occurs, when prices are driven up by shortages. Revolutions start when the people always spontaneously rise up to overthrow the existing government. We
Mhm.
saw that happen with the Arab Spring, and I brought that up last time. There's an explanation of historical events that answers these questions in the affirmative. It is called the conspiratorial view of history, the conspiratorial view of history, and it's the alternative to the accidental view. The view that is commonly held today. That's the accidental view. So people today feel like things just randomly happen in history with no purpose. It just happens, and what we see today is just the byproduct of that. But he continues, it is possible, or is it possible, therefore, to surmise major events of history into two alternative schools of thoughts, which again is the accidental view of history and the conspiratorial view of history. The conspiratorial view of history, historical events occur by design. That's the
Mhm.
key word there, by design, for reasons that are generally not made known to the people. So to me, that sounds like it's actually been hidden.
Mhm.
What's your take on this, bro?
Yeah, not many people can say things as succinctly as Ralph Epperson, um, and yet be so practical. Um, but there are things that happen in history. It's not everything, and I think Ralph Epperson, if he was to rewrite it, he would definitely make that point.
Yeah,
But um, there are things that happen in history that we need to really look at because it didn't just happen. It's said by the late Gary Allen, that in politics nothing just happens. He said that Franklin Delano Roosevelt said this. He said in politics nothing just happens. If it
right.
happens, you can believe it was planned that way.
It was planned, right.
Right. So um, yeah, I mean, so there's some stuff that happened, but there's some stuff we look at and it looks a certain way, but we need to look again because um, it was made to serve a certain purpose, and we need to see what that purpose entails. I'll say it like that.
Roger. And so we got into, or we was trying to get into, and we're gonna look at, I think maybe one or two people who actually, we already talked about, well, one or two people who tried to expose this conspiracy. And so here in the unseen hand, he explains that there are people who have been exposed to the conspiracy and have come out against the conspiracy, and it's either because they worked with it and didn't know it, or they worked with it and was going along with it but felt bad later, or what else did he say? The third method is conspiracy is for the research. Oh, or somebody did the research. Somebody did the research and uncovered the conspiracy. One
Mm-hmm.
person that I have in mind, and I got into it in the back chat with one of the brothers, um, how in our government, y'all need to know this. In our government, there existed an anti-Freemason party. It was a third party, a real party, a political party, and it was called the Anti-Mason Party. And I assume because the majority of the presidents, the founding fathers at that time, or some of the founding fathers and the later presidents were all Masons. And so I believe it was Captain William Morgan. Was
Yeah.
that his? I think he was the one who had discovered the plot. And unfortunately, I hate to laugh. I don't mean to laugh like 'cause it's funny, but I think it's ironic that you will find people who would disagree that there is a conspiracy when we see history like this taking place, where you have a man who uncovers the plot and later dies under mysterious circumstances.
Yeah, the thing about Captain Morgan, I'm trying to interrupt you, but the thing about Captain Morgan was a Freemason,
Yes,
and
part he was.
yeah, he came to find out what Freemasonry was really all about. Now, like a lot of other stuff, there's fanciful stuff, and then there's stuff that's real. You know, what Captain Morgan uncovered was real. There are a lot of Freemasons that'll get mad at me when they hear that, but he's
Hey,
dead. He's dead, and the way he died was the way, if I remember, was the way that Freemasons say you die when you tell secrets. You know, um, I mean,
that's how
there's
they do it, right?
yeah, there's one
From
other
ear,
person.
from ear to ear.
Yeah, yeah. There's one other person that G. Edward Griffin interviewed about the tax exempt foundations. I can't think of the person's name. And think about this is important, but when the time is right, I guess I'll remember. But the main thing I want to say is this was an important interview. This is someone that was on the committee, uh, and he found out what they were doing. Well, the reason I'm telling you this though is there was a woman that was helping him, and she was supposed to look up what she was supposed to look up. I think she looked up under the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. When she got to a certain year and read it, according to this person, I can't think of their name to save my life. But anyway, um, you know, she went crazy.
Mm.
She went crazy. She, and when I say she went crazy, I mean she went crazy because of the stuff she read in the minutes of the Carnegie Endowment. She could not believe the evil.
I believe it. I believe it.
You know, some of some of some of what was discovered has been revealed, and one of them was they had planned World War I. This was in the minutes. This is not some conspiracy. No, this is something you can actually look up in their minutes where they said we must infiltrate the State Department.
You know,
And we have to get the United States involved in a war.
man, have you read Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike?
Here's an interesting thing about morals endowment. There's actually someone that knew I was exposed. One of the things that I do is I expose Freemasonry. So someone had a grandfather that was a Freemason, so they gave me morals and dogma, because they weren't going to read it because it's a very dark book. But in the book, he frankly tells on on them, you know,
Yeah.
and yeah. So yeah, I know about. I haven't read it all, but I know about more. I'll say it like
Yeah, and supposedly, so at this same time, while I was in Greensboro at this unit,
that. Mhm.
and this is where I got the majority, like it was. I was always debating somebody about this topic after I started to uncover so much stuff, like what you see here.
Mhm.
But before I get into this, um, one of the things that we kept getting into a discussion about was what was it? What was it? It just passed me. It just passed me. Daggone it. I hate when that happens. Uh, Around the same time about these, I lost it, man. It was good too. It was real good. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. But finish your thought.
Well, I mean, there's just people telling people don't understand. It's just the people that do come out against this don't get publicized. They don't get a wide audience. But there have been people that have exposed what's going on and that
Oh,
tell what's going on. Even Terry Quigley, who really came out on their side.
we're
His
gonna get
book,
into him. Yeah.
yeah, his book Tragedy and Hope was suppressed.
Yeah.
The,
Okay.
the
So
one,
it came
the
back
ones,
to me. It came
yeah,
back to me. I don't want to lose it. All right.
okay, okay.
Uh, what it was is that we was in this discussion, and I was telling them all the things that I had found out, and
Mhm.
I was like, "Yo, like, did y'all know that they had the plans for three major world wars?" I said, "Did y'all know that?" And already two world wars have happened. I said, if I have a document, if I have a document that's dated to the time before the first world war, and this document is stating that there needs to be three and two have already happened, where does that leave us? And I told him, I said, this was a letter written by Albert Pike, and it was written to Joseph Mazzini, who is believed to have created the Italian mafia. And so I was like, it's weird because Joseph Mazzini is accredited with creating the Italian mafia, while Albert Pike is accredited to creating the Ku Klux Klan. Can that be a coincidence? Can that can't happen by accident, can it?
Mhm. There are people that say, and they rightfully say, that the predecessors to the modern intelligence apparatus are the secret societies, societies. Matter of fact, it was E. Howard Hunt who said that the most impressive secret society that the CIA really studies is the Jesuits.
I heard
Is
that too.
is the Jesuits. Now, the Jesuits is a Catholic secret society. Now you hear so much goofiness about this that when someone is bringing truth to you, you refer your point of reference is the goofiness. I'm telling you, erase the goofiness from your head. There's a real element to this, and
It
you
is.
need to you need to get an understanding rather of the real element. And the real element is, you know, the CIA, MI6, all of that is structured the way you could say the way a secret society is structured.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. Okay. And so, like these major world wars, right?
Mhm.
So let me read what's in front of me right here, real quick. So, of course, I went over this last week, but I'll go in a little bit more. American Eagle crashing into the pyramid. Folding the $1 bill in a particular way illustrates an image of the American bald eagle nosediving into a 13-step pyramid, symbolizing the destruction of the United States government and the rise of a new world, or the new world order rises out of those ashes. And I think I went into I went into the concept of uh, the symbology that's listed here, and but I want to focus more on the actual seal, because we was just saying, I was just asking the question: could it be an accident that Albert Pike creates the Ku Klux Klan? He's a Freemason, 33rd degree Freemason, has ambitions of or wanted a plan to bring in the New World Order, a plan for three major world wars that would destroy all governments and all religion. And this picture here symbolizes that. And then I ask the question again: is this symbol by accident? Does that was this done in this way on purpose, or was this some type of secret message? You know. But let me go back to Epperson. So he says, here are the three ways. Oh, we already went into that. Yeah, we went into that. My bad. So, but that's one of the questions that I asked. Are they communicating with each other in a specific type of way to let them know, hey, game on, game on?
that is that is the meaning behind symbolism. Symbolism is meant when you do symbolism, you're meaning to communicate to other initiates. Now, people that aren't initiates will see it, but they're considered in the secret society. They're considered profane. They're considered Gentiles. I mean, that's what Skull and Bones refers to the outsiders are, I believe, as Gentiles, if I remember correctly. They have different names that they refer to um, the uninitiated. And so that's what you're supposed to you look at symbolism. Yeah.
All right. So here's your boy, Mr. Carl Quigley. Said so. This is from his book Tragedy and Hope. He says that there does
Mhm.
exist and has existed for generations an international Anglophile network which operates to some extent in the way the radical right believes the communists act. In fact, this network, which may be identified as the Round Table groups, has no aversion to cooperating with the communists or any other group and frequently does so. He says, I know of operations of this network because I've studied it for 20 years and was permitted for 2 years in the early 1960s to examine its papers and secret records. So we talk about the people who exposes it because they was feeling guilty about it. But this man, he seemed to go along with it.
If there's anybody that people want to get an understanding of, there's two people really, but there are other than two. I mean, there's Carol Quigley, there's George Orwell, there's Professor Anthony Sutton. But let's start with Carol Quigley. Carol Quigley. Carol Quigley in his book, I think it's 1,300 pages, something like that.
I have it
Tragedy.
on digits too, just to let you know.
Yeah, me too. So it's important to do that so people know that hey, I'm not just saying this, But
Yeah, I was saying it because if you want, I can pull it up and like some of the stuff that you was referencing last time, like
yeah,
certain, I can pull it up and present it up here uh after the show
okay.
if you want. But go ahead. I'm sorry. My bad.
Um, but Carl Quigley was a professor at Georgetown, which is a Jesuit university. And it's not I'm not making everything the Jesuits, but it's interesting that Georgetown is a Jesuit university. Um, he was big time when it came to professorship. He knew a lot of different people on a part of the inside that he knew about. Um, he knew a lot about um, you know um, Cecil Rhodes and different ones like that, and the Milner Group. He wrote a book called The Anglo-American Establishment that exposes that. But in Tragedy and Hope, he tells you in no uncertain terms there really is like this oligarchy, basically, this power elite that controls everything. Um, he's very matter of fact about what he says. He said, "Look, I don't disagree with what they're doing. I just disagree with their methods. I disagree with the fact that that they're keeping what they're doing secret. But he's very candid and very open about the fact that they are doing what they're doing. Matter of fact, he says this is the real bad. Now, um, there's a commentary on it called "The Naked Capitalist" by W. Cleon Skousen. There's also a book called "Tragedy and Hope 101" by Joseph Plum.
Okay,
Tragedy and Hope 101 by Joseph Plum, and it's free. Tragedy and Hope 101 is free. You can just
it's free.
you can download it for free. You can buy it. I recommend you buy it, but I'm saying you can't. It is free, and Joseph Plummer knows that he's giving it away for free.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
um,
Anything to fill up my bookshelf. Yes,
you know,
sir.
so and I'm talking about, of course, PDF, but basically, he says, what they're saying with the communists, and the communists are doing this, and the communists, conservatives talk about that. He said they're actually right. These things are happening, but it's
Yeah.
not the communists doing it; it's these people,
Yeah.
and they think it's communists. You know,
Right.
you, you
Right.
know, and so a a major weakness in some conservatives is they make Marxism everything, and it's like, no, Marxists are just puppets. The ones that are really pulling the strings are these people over here. And
These
these
round
people over
table
here,
groups.
yeah, these people over here are the ones that you really have to watch, you know. And Carol Quigley was Bill Clinton's professor and someone that Bill Clinton looked up to. You see what I'm saying? So this
Yeah.
is not a run in the mill type of person. This is actually somebody that people need to be aware of.
So let me read what he says here in his book. He says, I have no aversion to it or most of his aims, and have for much of my life been close to it and many of its instruments. I have objected both in the past and recently to a few of its policies, but in general, my chief difference of opinion is that it wishes to remain unknown, and I believe its role in history is significant enough to be known of its policies. But in general, my chief difference of opinion is that it wishes, well, I retyped that, my bad. But he said, I believe its role in history is significant enough to be known. So he wants them to just come out and say, hey, this is what we doing. We've been behind the scenes the whole time. This is what we've been doing. But see, if they was to do that, they would have to explain. They would have to explain a lot. Like if
Mhm,
we were just to go in reverse, right? So,
mhm,
what happened in Benghazi? We're gonna need explanations for that. Why did we go to war in Afghanistan? Why did we go to war in Iraq? Why did we go to war in the first Gulf War? Why didn't we receive the money that the king of Saudi Arabia was offering every single soldier that participated in that war? What? Why? Can we get answers for that? Uh, why were and for examples that I gave, why is there contractors in in Iraq doing jobs that the soldiers can do? Why are we spending $10,000 a month for this man to sit in this tent in an air condition and not even working out? He just sitting in a tent watching TV at
mhm,
the gym on at in tent city. But we are out here walking around with grenade launchers, daggone M16s, all of that in this hot 135 degree weather. But this man is getting paid $10,000 to sit in a tent. I don't think that I don't think that's right. And so I think we got into a discussion about the military industrial complex. I ain't gonna get too much into that now, but that is something that has to be explained. Why 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 did the opium epidemic uh, rise or increase right after Afghanistan? I can't even get out of Afghanistan asking so many questions.
right.
You see what I'm saying? All this stuff is going to have to be exposed, or not just exposed, but they will have to explain why they did all of this stuff. And if they was to answer truly, I would say because they plan on establishing a new world order.
Right.
A
Yeah,
new global government.
right. And in order to really grasp, what's going on, you have to understand the fact that basically with America, you have, what we know as America, but then you also have the other America, the America that was founded on, uh, like there's an America that was founded on a strong Christian influence, but there's an America that was founded on race. And so if you understand that, then you see all two books, American Secret Assignment, Destiny, and The Secret Destiny of America. You understand that there was an involvement of secret societies in this country and in its forming, and things of that sort. Um, there are books that go into that. There's those books. There's Ralph Everson's book, The New World Order. There's William Still's book, New World Order and Ancient Plan of Secret Societies. Just to name a few. Um, and so there is that part where America, specifically after World War II, became, the other America. That became um, an empire, and the reason it did is because it had to set the groundwork necessary for there to be a new world order. So you had them going into countries, taking people out, assassinating leaders, and everything like that. There's a lot of wickedness
So like
that's gone on in the name of America. A lot of wickedness. Go ahead.
oh I mean to interrupt. Go ahead, bro.
No, I'm just saying there's a lot of wickedness that's went on in our name, and people need to be aware that some of the reason that they hate us isn't because of our liberty and all this other thing. It's because of some stuff we've done. Even Osama bin Laden. We forget the stuff early on. Like early on, there's a picture of him and Zbigniew Brzezinski together
Yep,
because we used bin Laden and the Taliban at first.
we did. We paid him.
Exactly.
We paid him. But
Exactly.
see, that's the problem, bro. It's like the policies that these people put in place, or the hidden policies that they put in place, causes so much blowback on us because we're essentially destroying other people's countries.
Exactly.
And it's not like we doing it for a just cause. We're not even doing it per se. It's,
Mhm.
I guess, what you would call in modern times, the deep state. Like
Right.
today, it's the deep state. That's who I'm gonna refer to. Is these people that we unelected people that we don't see, making all the policy, making all the decisions as far as who we go to war with, who we fund, and all this other stuff. Um, so it's like when they do stuff like that, like again in Benghazi, think about it. Your man's was about to change his whole currency. He was going straight to gold. He
Mhm.
had probably one of the best healthcare systems uh, in on the continent of Africa in Libya. But for what reason did they want to get rid of his government? You see what
Mhm.
I'm saying? Like, why
Mhm.
did we purposely, and I hate to say we, but why did the American government allow, and we even allowed one of our own to be captured
Mhm.
and tortured just for the advancement of this world government?
Right.
So, if you want to add something to that, if not, I'm gonna read what's on the screen here just to go into Mr. Fagan.
Mhm. Just I would just again just say, a lot has been done in the name of America, but there's a lot of stuff that Americans are behind in. So we still think it's sad because we still think in these terms, and they're way over here, and they're using the language of this over here, and we're still thinking in this way over here, but they're not over here; they're over there. And like for instance, some of the places that we have uprooted and stuff like that, wasn't for good. Like it wasn't so liberty and justice could reign. It's like we put a dictator in.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And it's like,
yeah,
yeah, and people need to, this stuff that they believe is going on in New World Order. It's happening, but people need to understand what it really is.
right.
That's
I
what
agree.
I say.
All right, brother. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving, cause ooh boy.
Yeah.
Hey, we moving smooth. Everything is going good. Thank the Lord for that.
Praise
Uh, so let's carry on. So here we got Myron Fagan, and this was another person who I ran into, not like literally, but in my
God.
research, and I sat and listened, and I read a few of his articles, and I
Mhm.
also sat and listened to his whole audio clip, and I was astonished about what I heard because everything that I had studied up to that point, he was confirming everything that I had read. And think about it, how the Bible says when you have when you have two or three more witnesses, you know what I'm saying? The
Mhm.
account we can trust we can trust the account to be true, factual. So let
Mhm.
me give a little background on who Myron Fagan is, and then continue on. So. Uh, I guess he was born October 31st, 1887, died 1972 in May, arrived on Broadway in 1907 at 19 years old, the youngest playwright in the history of the American theater. In the following years, he wrote and directed plays for many famous actors and actresses. During the early years, Mr. Fagan was also a dramatic editor for the Associated Newspapers, including the New York Globe and various Harris newspapers. But in 1916, he took a leave from the theater and served as director of public relations for Charles Evans Hughes, the Republican candidate for the presidency. Thus, Mr. Fagan's career encompassed the theater, journalism, and national politics, and he is a proven expert in all those fields of his age. And you can go to Wikipedia if y'all want to see the information on that. Um, but the reason why I brought that up is because he, you would have to go look up his audio on the Illuminati and the CFR, and we hadn't really said anything about the CFR, which is the Council on Foreign Relation, because uh, well, I ain't gonna say because, but the question came up about the Illuminati, like.
Mhm.
Where is the Illuminati? Who is the Illuminati today? Do they still exist or they don't? Well, Myron Fagan seems to believe that the CFR is actually the rebranding of the Illuminati in the USA. So let me read here, and yeah, let me read here. So the question. So this is from his audio. This is the very beginning. So he says this: the question of how and why the United States is the crux of the great conspiracy to destroy the sovereignty of the United States and the enslavement of the American people within the UN one world dictatorship is a complete and unknown mystery to the vast majority of the American people. Now, granted, at his time, the United Nations had just been stood up, and it did have the potential to be become a world government of itself. But as we can see today, the UN, they talking about dismantling the UN because it's worthless. But in any case,
Can I
but
say something real quick?
yeah, go ahead.
Now, I'm gonna say this really quick. Please don't lose your thought, but I want to make this point. Um, the UN is interesting. First of all, the land of the UN was given to the United States, rather, was given to the United States by John D. Rockefeller,
Another oligarch.
another oligarch. Um, there's a whole lot that could be said. I mean, it has a meditation room on that's hosted, basically, rather, by Lucis Trust, which used to be Lucifer's publishing company.
That's another one of those subversive organizations, Lucius Trust.
Exactly. Um, but it is a second attempt. The first was the League of Nations. This is the second attempt at a world government.
Yeah,
World government, according to a person, an oligarch, I think in Europe. I didn't know we were going to go here, but I'll just quote it here, some of it. Does not have to be the UN. It does not have to be the UN. If the UN doesn't work, they have said that they would make the EU the head of a possible world union.
hey, an idea just popped in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want to do uh, a discussion on we go from the New World Order to how it would look from the biblical perspective with all this intricate working?
Sounds interesting. So, yeah, sounds good.
Okay, all
Sounds
right.
good.
So we'll plan for that on the next one. But
Okay.
if you got anything else, if not, I'll keep going.
No, that was basically it. I'm just saying that they're extremely flexible with what they're doing.
Yeah.
The UN just is useful for what they're doing, but it does not have to be centered in the UN. Go ahead
Okay. All right, man. So he continues. He says the reason for this unawareness of the frightening danger to our country and to the entire free world is simple. The masterminds behind this great conspiracy have absolute control over all of our mass communication media, especially television, radio, the press, and Hollywood. I'm going to pause here. And the reason why I'm going to pause here is because when I stated how hard it is to talk about this subject, with people who I guess are not into it or not aware of it, and how I told them that we are being attacked on all sides. I'm not just saying it because it sounds catchy or cliche or whatever. I'm saying it because it's the truth. You have an oligarchy that has control, again, like he says here, control over our mass communication media, television, radio, press, and the Hollywood. And now, because they didn't have the internet at his time, we can go ahead and include the internet, social media, and things of that nature.
though.
So let me continue and finish off here. So we all know that our State Department, the Pentagon, and the White House have brazenly proclaimed that they have the right and the power to manage the news, to tell us not the truth, but what they want us to believe. What's your thoughts, bro?
Mm-hmm. Um, Again, that's just another area that they have co-opted. I mean, going all the way back to the 1800s. There are people. I went on a post, and I don't mean no harm with what I see it, but they think the idea of fake news is new. The idea of fake news goes way back. on the left and the right. Goes way back. There's a document I have called Poison at the Source, and it goes back to the 1800s with the Rothschilds purchasing Reuters and everything like that.
Mm.
You know, if you look at news today, I think there is altogether, I think now 4 to 6 corporations that control everything you watch.
Yep, that's
You
true.
know, and then
And remember last week I had to remove the video, but I was showing a video of Kennedy. What's his name? The Louisiana governor, Senate
mhm,
senator. What's his name? I think his last name is Kennedy. I can't remember his name, but
mhm,
he was upset because George Soros is buying one of the largest radio stations in the state, and
exactly.
if George Soros is in control of subversive groups. He causes he causes division in many people's countries. Imagine the horrors he would bring if allowed to broadcast his ideology to hundreds of thousands of people unfettered. And he was mad because the approval of George Soros' purchase was done in such a nefarious way that they didn't even go through the FCC process to approve it. It was like they rushed it through.
Hmm.
They rushed it through. But let me read this part and then
Good.
oh, go ahead.
No, I mean, in 1912, J.P. Morgan bought up, I think, 25 newspapers. And he did it according to the congressional testimony. He did it to influence the minds of the nation. This is old. This is so old.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
the CIA went further with a project called Project Mockingbird, where they
Oh,
basically
yeah.
got control of the press and put in news stories. Um, Basically, they put in news stories, and there are people that say, "Well, Operation Mockingbird stopped this." We really have nothing official that says Operation Mockingbird stopped.
That's a good observation, good assessment.
Mm. And so this is why whenever you talk about things happening in the media and things happening, you must question what you hear. Here's why: because what you hear is going to determine what you think. What you think is going to determine what you talk about, and what you talk about, is going to determine. It determines how you see the world, basically. And so you may think you have your own mind, but if you're being told what to think, they knew early on. This is how you control people.
Right. Out of
That's
control.
yeah,
Out of control, unfettered. Uh, but again, politics, Trump, all of that. At least somebody is looking into the background of all this stuff because, like,
right,
these subversive groups, they have to be checked. They have to be stopped.
right.
They have to be stopped. So here he says again that they have seized that power on orders from their masters. Like you was just saying, bro.
Mhm.
It's not the government per se, but the people behind the government that's pushing these policies. The masterminds of the great conspiracy and the objective is to brainwash the people into accepting the phony peace bait to transform the United States into an enslaved unit of the United Nations one world government. So again, we know that at that time the UN had just stood up and it might be dismantled now, and as brother Julius pointed out, They have no problem substituting the UN for the EU, and I honestly feel like that's what's going to happen. But
Mhm.
that part where he says the peace bait, I quoted Daniel 8:25 because it stood out to me, and I'm gonna read it here. And through his policy also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He
Mhm.
shall also stand up against the prince of peace. I'm sorry, the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Daniel 8:25. And we understand this to refer to the Antichrist. And the fact that they want this peace, they want to use peace to bring the entire world into their clutches is telling to me. It's one of those red flags that pop up like, oh snap, they trying to use peace to destroy many. What's your take, bro?
And what's telling, it's very telling to me that a lot of people don't really. I don't mean this in a bad way, but a lot of people don't know this. But it says in Daniel 7, where it talks about the final empire that arises, world empire. Um, when it's first started, it's not started by the Antichrist. It's started by a group of people, and then the Antichrist comes. You know, but it's not started by the Antichrist.
Right.
The Antichrist doesn't come on the scene and then create a world government and all that. No, these people create their final system, and the Antichrist waits in the wings to take over it. You know, and that's something people need to understand. They need to understand that it's not something that he builds. It's something that you build or they build or whatever. I don't mean you. I don't mean you, but it's something that they build, and he comes. He comes. So
Okay.
mhm,
Sorry, bro. My wife
okay.
is texting me again. All right. So yeah, as we can see, there's a government that is supposed to be stood up by the people.
Hmm.
Oh, DMG, what's up, bro? Hold on, let me put him. What up, Mo? What's going on with you, DMG, man? We had to do this again. I had to do a better show for my bro, cause hey, he deserves it, man. Like seriously. So I couldn't leave him hanging like that. That was my fault. And but we're gonna continue to build. Um, let's go back to where we was at. So right here, I'm just showing that, you know, oh, I already went past it. Let me go back. Let me see if would it let me go back. Yep. So these are just some of the power builders behind the Illuminati. Well, you have uh, Adam Weishaupt, who was the founder of the Illuminati, and apparently they got found out, and so they split. But history tells me that they infiltrated other secret societies to bring about their ultimate goal. So you have the Freemasons, who were already a secret society, but then Adam Wassop comes along and infiltrates it and makes a secret society within a secret society. That is crazy. And then we got some other nefarious people involved, like you just pointed out, like the Rockefellers, and then we have the Rothschild family, who was behind a lot of the policies that was taking place during the 1800s and even to this day. uh, Anything you want to add? Uh-oh. Hold up. Did he? What happened? His battery probably his battery probably went out. I don't know. All right, so I'm gonna keep going until my brother jumps back on. Make sure I see him when he pops up. So some of y'all might not know about this man here, William Cooper. And when we talk about giving the ultimate sacrifice for exposing the truth, and like I told Julius, I'm gonna have to do more research onto how he died. But according to the reports, he was being served a warrant for tax evasion or something to that nature, and they say that he shot at the police officers, and so they shot back and they killed him. But reading here, let me see if Julius came back yet before I go on. So reading here, Bill Cooper was an American conspiracy theorist, radio broadcaster, and author known for his 1991 book Behold a Pale Horse, in which he warned multiple global conspiracies, some involving extraterrestrial life. Cooper also described HIV and AIDS as a man made disease used to target blacks, Hispanics, and homosexuals, and that a cure was made before it was implemented. He has been described as a militia theoret. I can't even say that word, but Cooper was killed in 2001 by sheriff deputies after he shot at them during an attempted arrest. Okay, sound like I just heard that bing. Let me see. Where you at, brother?
Hello.
Oh no, you good, bro. You good. You good.
uh,
What happened though?
I
Did
don't
the
know. I just thought I would try to get back on. Maybe I don't know. After a certain time, it just moved me out. I don't know. I do not know.
okay. Well, I was pretty much just going over the fact that William Cooper gave the ultimate sacrifice for exposing the truth.
Oh
And
yeah.
and I don't know if have you read his book,
You
Behold the
know,
Pale Horse?
Behold a Pale Horse is one of those books that I mentioned. George Orwell, real quickly, and Professor Sutton, but I needed to. He belongs in this. I needed to mention Bill Cooper. Now, before you read Behold a Pale Horse, you need to understand something. Bill Cooper said there was some stuff that he could not verify. And when you
Right.
understand how secretive this is, okay, everything doesn't have to be perfect, but he revealed things that were in the public record.
And he also provided receipts.
Right, exactly. And so I would tell people, that they need to read Behold the Pale Horse. You know,
Yes. You
are
know
you gonna walk
somebody.
away agreeing with every single thing? Of course not. There's one thing in particular, I can't remember what it was, that he didn't agree with later on in his own book, you know. Um, but again, there were certain things he didn't understand, but the heart of what he understood, in my view, was right. Matter of fact, they tried to kill him once. That didn't work. And they said they were going. If I remember correctly, they may have said that they were going to come back and they were going to finish the job, basically. And of course, the way he died was controversial.
Yeah, he got shot by the police,
Right.
but they trying to say, and I said this on the last show and a few minutes ago that they try to say that he shot at them, and that's why they
Right.
shot at him. But
Right.
it's like, what? Where do you stand? You know what I'm saying? When you know the government is coming after you for doing not the wrong thing, but the right thing. And to
Bill,
me,
I tell people all the time, Bill Cooper lived in a different world. You have to understand, Bill Cooper was a top level security clearance type of person. That means he automatically he knew stuff that you didn't know.
Yes.
You know, and he knew
Especially,
stuff that if he said it and he provided the evidence, they could black it out because it's declared national security.
yeah. And
You know,
especially
so
with him being in the Navy
yeah,
and
so
his extraterrestrial ties
right,
makes a lot of sense because now they don't call them extraterrestrials or UFOs, they call them UAPs.
exactly.
And, he was very close to that type of information.
Now, Bill, the way he talked about UFOs, he talked about them like I'm just going to tell you what he said. He said there's a possibility that UFOs are a psyop. Now, later on in life, he believed that they were a psyop. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and there are other people that believe that they're a sort of a psyop, meaning that they exist, but they're not aliens that are over them. they're they're the fallen, the Nephilim. Um, that's a whole nother show.
I actually did a show on that called the
mm,
UFO Deception,
mm,
where I pointed out
mm,
several things. Like it was impossible for these things to be extraterrestrial, meaning being from way out of space, because it's way too much space junk out there, like space
mm,
debris that can destroy a vehicle,
mm,
unless they got some type of protection for it. But pretty much, make a long story short, I concluded that nah, they weren't extraterrestrials, but extra dimensional,
there,
which
there are
to
there are videos and stuff, and there are even people in this field that have made up their apart from the Bible that have said these beings are interdimensional.
yes, and I even went into the study of CERN.
Right?
You know what I'm saying, and how it's possible that they've somehow opened this extra dimensional, or they're trying to open some type of extra dimensional with the discovery of the Higgs boson and uh, uh, those type of things. But let me read here and we can continue on. So the Council on Foreign Relations,
Okay.
this is one of the things that Bill Cooper says in his book, "The Behold the Pale Horse." The Council on Foreign Relations has been the foremost flank of Americans' foreign policy established for more than half of a century. The Council on Foreign Relations is a private organization of business executives, scholars, and political leaders that studies global problems and plays a key role in developing U.S. foreign policy. So, how is it that a private organization has the ability to control international policies with the United States? Isn't that the United States' job?
Well, it goes into the power elite ecosystem that exists that most people don't know about. Again, you have at the helm, you have these families. These families have tax exempt foundations. These tax exempt, first of all, these tax exempt foundations exempt them from taxes. I'm going to say it one more time. These tax exempt foundations exempt them from taxes. People talk about Donald Trump, but there are a whole lot of wealthy people who don't pay taxes. It's a part of their power because they know how to handle money. They know the loopholes. Anyway, these tax exempt foundations fund think tanks. They fund think tanks. And these semi-secret think tanks like the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, you know,
Trilateral Commission.
the Bilderberg Group, the Club of Rome, different ones, the Institute of Pacific Relations, different ones. Um, and these semi-secret think tanks have influential members in the press, in politics, whether Democrat or Republican. Bill Clinton was a member of the CFR, but so was George Bush.
Oh, and Dick Cheney.
and Dick Cheney.
Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. There's another one that was a part of it.
Who?
I think you going you gonna have to fact check me on this one. But I was astonished when I'm thinking,
Mm-hmm.
hold your hats for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Is his name John MacArthur?
Um.
One of the leading evangelists.
Oh wow, John MacArthur.
Yes, I think he was a member of
I
is or
won't.
was.
I won't say, but if he is, wow.
You know what?
If he
I'm
is,
tempted.
wow.
I'm about to go look it up right now. Let me look it up right now because I remember reading. I was like, hold up. Did I see
But
John
but but the
MacArthur?
but the reason why the CFR is, first of all, I just told you why the CFR is a problem. But even further, the CFR is a roundtable. It's an offshoot of Cicero's uh, secret society. Cecil Rhodes was a Freemason,
Mm,
you know, and um, I think it was Alice Bailey's husband had dealings either with Cecil Rhodes Secret Society, or he may have been a member.
man, I think I found it, but I can't do it right now.
Okay.
Y'all gonna have to fact check me on that, y'all. Make sure that I'm not looking at the wrong MacArthur as a member of the Council on Foreign Relations because I think when I found that out, that's when I was like, I don't know if I should trust this man or not.
You know, what's worse is you have the Milner Group or Cecil Rhodes Secret Society, but you also have a high concentration of Skull and Bones members in the CFR.
Mm,
You know, and so that's a problem.
there's a problem. That's a big problem.
It's a problem. But
So,
if but if you take the time to study this, I call it an ecosystem. If you take time to study this ecosystem that exists, um, it's permanent, it's regular, it's people you constantly see in DC,
yeah, and
but
you would never know.
you
Uh,
would never know. You would
Bro, can I
never know.
say? Let me say this.
Hmm.
Let me say this.
Hmm.
I can tell you that I had to go up against so many ad adversaries, a part
Hmm.
of that organization
Hmm.
during the first part of my AGR career
Hmm.
because I was so openly against this organization after figuring out all these things and how they were all associated. I used to tell them like the Prince Hall Masons, and I would say, shout out to Prince Hall because he was an abolitionist, but
Hmm.
at the same time, it's like, you know, why team up with the devil?
Hmm.
I don't get it. Why team up with the devil? But in any case, I used to tell them, y'all just the Boy Scouts, because the real deal is behind the scenes controlling y'all. And that landed me in uh so many situations that I was truly persecuted, bro.
Hmm.
Truly persecuted.
I believe it. I believe it. When you start talking about Freemasonry, you're going you're going to get some persecution from people that say that they're Christians. Um, you know, um, and then depending upon how much you know, you're going to face a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
going to face a lot of trouble.
So let
No
me
matter
read.
how. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Let me read. Let me get this one out the way, and then we can continue on. So this is what else he says about the Council on Foreign Relations. So the Council on Foreign Relations controls our government. Through the years, its members have infiltrated the entire executive branch, State Department, Justice Department, CIA, and the top ranks of the military. Every director of the Central Intelligence Agency, that's the CIA, y'all, has been a member of the CFR. Most presidents since Roosevelt have been members. You just pointed that out. The
Mhm.
members of the CFR dominate ownership of the press. We just talked about how they take control of the media.
Mhm.
And most, if not all, of Americans' top journalists are members. He says here the CFR does not conform to government policy.
Mhm.
The government conforms to CFR policy.
Mhm. That's right.
So, what's your take on that?
You know, if people just take the time to understand that part, there have been whole books written about the CFR and its influence. If they just understand that part, that will wake them up. I'm not saying that they'll be fully awake, but my goodness, they'll know a whole lot. They'll know a whole lot. And there have been people again from different parts of the spectrum that have exposed what the CFR is, what it does. Um, you know, and if you really now Zbigniew Brzezinski, who started co-founded the Trilateral Commission with David Rockefeller, he did at least admit that in a certain time during the War and Peace studies, that the Council on Foreign Relations ran the government.
Hmm.
He's, basically, the CFR said it, that's the way it was. You know, now it was longer, really, than that, though. But from what I've researched, and but he at least admitted that part. He at least admitted that part. Again, but if most people, these organizations are so important, but most people, when you say the names of these organizations, they don't get it.
It's like it's no trigger.
Right.
It should like after watching this or listening to this, I hope that the listeners will get triggered when they hear or see certain groups brought up: Council on Foreign Relations, Freemasons, Rothschilds, Rockefeller, um, even the Illuminati. Like Fagan stated that it was or it is the Illuminati in America, that the Council on Foreign Relations. That's what he says. So
Well,
when somebody says, "Oh, there is no such thing as the Illuminati," we have to understand that over time, because they got exposed, that they would have to go under different names to hide their nefarious behavior. But if you got a different opinion, I'm willing to
no, no,
listen.
no, 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 no. I was gonna say, I'll say this. When I was beginning to research, and I began to research this like in 2000. When I began to research this, you know, one of the immediate connections before there was the Mayan figure that came to my mind, I said, "Why does this CFR sound like the Illuminati?"
Oh wow.
And so I just typed it in. I didn't know what I was going to find, and come find, I found Myron Fagan's transcripts. Now, of course, it's 2025. There are more things I know. There are some things that I would say Myron Fagan, but Myron Fagan was in a certain time period, and you find out more. That's just the progression of history. And then to top it off, Myron Fagan was not really a historian, but I would not say, to this day, I would not say, don't listen to Myron Fagan. I would not say, don't take a time and hear out what Fagan has. You better take time and hear out what he has to say. Because I'll say this: a lot of what he says, people need to take take heed to what he says. and they need to understand what he's saying. And it's like he said, but it's like he said when he I think if I remember correctly, it's like what he said about what he was saying. Research behind it.
Yeah,
That's what he says. I respect anybody that says, "Hey, research behind
yeah. Like
it."
that's the
You
most
know,
responsible thing to do is to do
right?
your own pertinent research.
Exactly. And so I found a whole lot of what he said. Now, there's some things I found that I'm like, I don't know if I agree with him on that. But a
Yeah,
lot of stuff that he says, a lot of it is, run true with me. You know,
yeah, yeah.
um,
Like the example with the him saying that the UN could possibly be the new world standard for the
mhm,
new world government, but he
mhm,
had no idea that years later that the EU would rise. Like he had no idea on that. So some things you
exactly.
have to take into account. But again, a responsible researcher would know how can I say, eat the fish and throw away the bones. That's my
Exactly.
favorite saying right there.
Exactly.
Um, so we got about 15 more minutes before I have to peel out, and so I
Okay.
think this is the last slide too.
Okay.
Um, and I'm gonna read this, and then, well, I'm gonna say this first, and then read it, so that you can tie everything again. So,
Okay.
uh, one, I want to say this about our current administration. Uh, Yeah, do I support the Trump administration? I do, but not 100% on every single thing that they doing. But
Mhm,
when I see stuff like they're going after these subversive groups that is trying to destroy America, how can I be upset with the man for trying to do this? You see what I'm saying?
mhm.
Um,
It's,
and what gives me some form of peace is that when I see the people themselves, like the Council on Foreign Relations, as you can see here on this slide,
mhm,
I found a blog where they're talking about what's going on in America today. And so, if you've heard discussions with me or had discussions with me about where I think, what I'm saying, where we at as far as New World Order or Bible prophecy and all the other stuff is concerned, I said maybe this is, and I'm saying it now, maybe God is giving America some grace with this
mhm,
election because imagine 8 more years of Biden.
mhm,
Imagine 8 more years, I mean, 4 more years of Biden. This
mhm,
country will be completely ran over, broke, and under a new leadership or probably absorbed into the European Union, possibly. But we see where money is being spent and all this other stuff, and foreign aid is being held back because we got so much money going to stupid things. So with that being said, this is what the Council on Foreign Relations, this is the conversations that they're having on their walls. So here it says the US led order is spent, and I got the link down here so y'all can go and look for yourselves. So the US led order is spent. Hold up. So pause. You telling me that this world order was first led by the US? We just went over that, didn't we? We just went over that.
mhm,
They continue. Since the end of World War II, the United States has pursued its global interests by constructing and maintaining international economic institutions, security alliances, and liberal political norms. There's that liberal word again. Three legs that hold up the liberal world order. There, this is from their website, so we can't say that this is not what they want. This is what they want. But they
mhm,
continue. These institutions, norms, and rules mediated relations among countries help prevent conflict between major powers and promoted the spread of democracy and human rights. Hold up now. So what we've seen in history is the complete opposite. They haven't uh, avoided conflicts; they created them.
Well, I mean, see, I'm gonna say this really quick. You have to really understand verbiage to really understand what they're saying. For instance, uh, we spread a democracy and
Democracy.
human rights. Okay, why would we be spreading democracy? Democracy is not even something that, if you look at the history of America, democracy, a pure democracy, is not something we even believe in.
Right, right.
We don't even believe America is a democracy. But why would we be spreading democracy? Democracy is a buzzword for dictatorship.
Thank you, thank you. All right, let me continue. Exactly, and I can probably give an example of a democracy, of a form of democratic government. Uh,
Right.
so here we go. See, these institutions, democracy, human rights. The United States under President Donald J. Trump is rejecting and undermining basic tenets of all three legs. Huh? Is that true? Because if it's true, that's a good thing for us, right?
Mhm. If it really is true, then yes.
Okay, let me continue.
Let me say this real quick. I I have two different views where the current administration is concerned. I think we should have a healthy form of skepticism. That's one view.
Yes, agreed.
And if it really is true that he's an outsider, I think we need to get behind it. But if he's not, the main thing I would say is we need to make sure that we question things. That's the main thing
Yes.
I would say. Make sure
Okay.
don't become be a rest at the wheel just because he's in office. That's all
Right.
I'm saying.
Agreed. All right. So, current U.S. disinterest leaves its continued leadership and even preservation of that order in doubt. So, Americans are not with a new world order. They are not. We are not for a new world order. The American people have spoken. We don't want a socialist style government. We just don't want that. Continue. Every time the United States abandons or weakens the multilateral agreement that it helped to establish, other countries take that as an indicator of their own freedom to flout shared rules and norms. So basically, I pulled this because uh, members at the CFR are talking, and they
Mhm,
see that the United States don't want to go along with this socialist style government, this communistic style government. They don't want,
mhm,
we don't want a new world order. So where
mhm,
does that leave the United States is the question. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? And I think that was the last slide.
mhm,
And let me stop share real quick.
mhm,
Let me stop it. Let me stop
okay,
screen. Stop the screen. Okay,
mhm,
there we go. Well, bro, that was
mhm.
pretty dope. But yeah, it's like, where does that leave the United States? You know what I'm saying? Like, are they, they, like, you would hear people in the news media say that Trump is making enemies with the world, while at the same time we see he's trying to stop certain wars and all this other stuff. And again, I'm not doing this or saying that Trump is the Messiah or anything like that. What I'm saying is that he's not doing anything different than what I would do if I was president, because I would definitely not want wars to be taking place. I want everybody to uh, make money. You know what I'm
Mhm,
saying? I don't want people hooked on drugs. I
mhm.
don't want our borders to be invaded by the cartel or any other organization that tends and aims to do us wrong. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, on the one hand, when they say that I'm just kind of using words to say what they're saying. But when they say things like, he's He's not for peace, and he's a dictator and all this stuff. First of all, let me bust up a few myths. Let me bust up a few myths. First of all, people that saying he's for fascism don't know what fascism even is. They don't know what fascism even is. If you look at the originator of fascism, he said, reportedly, he said that fascism is the merger of corporate and state power.
Right.
With that understanding, public and private power, that means it's a merger of corporations and the government. If that's what fascism is, we've had fascism for over almost 100 years. We've been fascist.
Yeah.
And so someone is not arriving to promote fascism. They're arriving if they're if they are the real deal, they're arriving to end fascism.
Mm-hmm.
But they're using people's lack of understanding against them. There is nobody that's ever ran a government or been a dictator by themselves. That does not exist in the real world. That does not exist. Communism became communism because we funded it.
Basically.
Um, Hitler became Hitler because Hitler was funded. Hitler was funded.
Oh, let me say this too.
Yeah,
Just a
yeah,
caveat on what you're saying. Going
right,
back to Albert Pike, it was him who said that we should use communists to push World War I and World War II. Now the
right.
funny thing about it is that World War III is supposed to be a religious war. Now this is the part where I be like, okay, this is where I'm like, okay, Trump, stay away from the religion because
Right.
now it's starting to look like the plans of Albert Pike is starting to fester or starting to take place because he says now we will use the last World War, World War III, as a
Right.
religious institution between the Mahdians or the Islam between Islam,
Mhm.
Judaism, and Christianity.
Wow.
So we have who's at play right now. We have, of course, we have worldwide jihad or Hamas, the world on, I mean, the war on terrorism
Mhm.
that involves Islamic Jihad. We have Israel that's at war with the Palestinians. That's
Mhm.
Judah, or I mean, that's Judaism. And
Mhm.
then we have the United States, which is supposed to be a Christian nation. We have all three players that's in line to fulfill this plan of prophecy by Albert Pike. So
Yeah,
again,
and you're interpreting that right because Mohammedanism, Christianity, and Judaism represent something.
mm,
They represent something. They're not defining Christian the way you are or
right,
the other person is. They're defining Christian they're defining Christian like America. America is a Christian nation. Now again, there's a lot of controversy about that, but
yeah,
at the end of the day,
the majority of us,
yeah, right,
the majority of the population of the United States is
right,
predominantly Christian.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So we
And,
are we are at the 159 mark, my brother, and uh, I want to give you a chance to let everybody know about your own project, your magazine, where they can
um,
find it, and a link that I can provide in the chat, and we're gonna smash it there.
okay. Um, of course, me and my wife own a magazine. It's called Back to Eden News Mag. And our website is www.backtoeden. That's back to. So two is the number. So back to Eden newsmagpub.com.
Read it one more time. www.backtoeden
Newsbagpub.com.
newsback.
Newsmag. I'm sorry. Newsmag. Mag. MAG.
Okay,
Pub.
newsbag
Pub.com.
pub.com. All right,
Yeah.
one more time. www dot back to Eden newsmagpub.com.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And
Okay.
and if you're wanting to skip all the hoopla, at least at first, become friends with Clarissa Denise Rhinehart. Clarissa Denise Rhinehart. And just go in her inbox and tell her you're interested in getting the magazine. She'll either take care of you there or send you to the
Can you see the
website.
can you see the link up there? Is that the right link?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as I promised,
Yeah.
uh I wanna pull it up so
Mm-hmm.
everybody can see it. So they
Okay.
know. Let's see. Where you at? Where you at? Share share this link for everybody. Share screen. I
Okay.
really enjoyed the conversation too, bro. Like this was real
Same here.
smooth. I liked it. I liked it.
Same here.
Okay. And you let me know if this is yours or not, cause uh,
Okay.
it's y'all right here. Hold on, it ain't popped up yet.
Okay.
Come on, you stupid laptop.
Mhm.
All right, it's showing that it showed up on this side. Okay, it should be popping up
Okay.
shortly. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
Mhm.
It don't want to pop up, but there you go.
Yep, that's definitely it. Yep.
That was it. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So,
Yeah.
give me a little information about what your page is about, and what can people expect when they come here.
Basically, what we deal with is world news from a biblical perspective. Um, with biblical presuppositions, a biblical worldview. We talk about different things like worship and prayer and different subject matters. Of course, I'm featured in there, and most of the time, I talk about what I talked about today. That's not what I'm limited to, but in many cases, that's kind of what I deal with. Um,
Okay.
and so, yeah, I mean, we
I'm
have
trying to get it
different,
back up here.
yeah, we have
Uh,
different writers that contribute.
Trying to get it back up here. Where you at? Where you at? Back
Excuse
to
me.
Eden. There you go. Please pop up. Please pop up. So I'm in the about section.
Yeah, okay. Mhm.
There we go. So yeah, y'all go check out uh my good friend and his wife Julius and Clarissa Rhinehart. Uh, let's support them the same way he supports us over here at Paradigm Shift. I appreciate you coming on, bro, and I can't say it enough. Thanks for your patience because I know dealing with technical issues can be a hassle, especially if you got really good information you're trying to get out, but it's just all over the place. I think this was probably one of the most, you know, one of the smoothest shows I've done so far
Mhm.
with somebody else. So, again, I appreciate you coming on, bro.
God is good, and I'm glad that I could be of service, and I enjoyed myself.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, it's just, but see, I what y'all don't know is we go back like some years, and these are things that we've talked about I mean, I think what over 5 to 10 years ago. It's been that
It's,
long, hasn't it?
it's been a while. It's been over that time. It's been like
Yeah. Look, I done
almost
grew a
10 years.
beard over the years and all kinds of crazy stuff. So yeah. but um, but again, bro, if you don't mind praying us out, and
Okay.
I do want to encourage everybody who's listening that is a Christian to get deeper into your biblical studies so that these type of subjects are not aloof. But I promise you, like brothers like Julius and myself, we don't have a problem sitting down and having these conversations with anybody uh, on these type of discussions and be humble about it. We don't know, we just don't know. But what we do know, we don't mind sharing because that's what we're supposed to do as Christians. And for the unbelievers, hey, most of y'all are conspiracy theorists anyway. So I don't know why y'all ain't even just came over here because we have one text in the world where its continuity is made sure by its prophetic applications, and that is to say, the Bible has predicted a final world government, and it's just ironic that we can see it happening, but we don't make a move. We don't do what we're supposed to do as far as getting prepared to meet the Lord Jesus Christ. And so I encourage unbelievers and believers alike to get prepared because, hey, like John said, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And so, with that, bro, could you please pray us out?
Heavenly Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you, Lord, for your grace, for your love, for your mercy, for your long suffering. Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to come together one more time for the fellowship. Lord, we're asking you, Lord, to forgive us for any sin, any transgression, any iniquity. God, we're asking you, Lord, to bless us. Help us to be everything that you're calling for us to be. Help us to be strong in you, strong in your might, above all, strong in your word, oh God. Unhindered by any satanic influence. In the name of Jesus, protect us, keep us from all hurt, harm, and danger, from danger seen and unseen. Remember,
Amen.
everybody that listen, let the word fall on good ground. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen, brother. Amen. Good ground. Good ground.
Amen.
Good ground is the key. Is the key. So I think our next discussion is going to be around the same area. But we're going to be hitting more scriptures as far as like the New World Order is concerned.
Mhm.
And so I can't give you a date as of now, but like I said, I had to get this out the way. So
Oh, oh, okay.
got a call.
Uh,
All right. Can you hear me?
yeah, I am.
Okay. All right. Yeah. They calling me. They calling me. So, but yeah, I got to run, bro. And again, appreciate it, man. This was awesome. This was
All
awesome.
right. God is good. And it's good
All the
being here one more
time.
time. Yeah.
Huh?
I said it's good being here, you know.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. All right, bro. Well, we done prayed out. So, I ain't see a lot of people. When I say maybe 3, 4 people pop in, but hopefully, when they look at this one, they will appreciate this one a lot more than the last one. Hey,
Right.
and I was gonna say, if you want, if you okay with it, I can just remove that last one.
Well,
And
we can. We can.
you want me to go ahead and get rid of that last one?
If you so
Because it
I
was so,
first
I
well,
was
I'm gonna say it like this. I'm gonna say it like this. I don't think you should.
okay.
I
Wait,
don't
I
think you should because they go together. But even though this one is
say
better,
less.
yeah,
Say
yeah.
less. Say less. All right, brother. I
Mm,
will be contacting you over the next few days, and putting some stuff together. So,
okay.
hey, and for everybody who hopped on, I appreciate it. And you have just experienced another GT project. So, Peace out. Matter of fact, y'all look out for the discussion between me and Captain 10K about the what you call it, the dietary laws or whatever. Should be a very informative discussion. Not so much of a debate, but if it turns into one, hey, it is what it is. It's gonna turn into one. Hey, but with that being said, God bless you all, and y'all have a good day.
Okay.
Hold on, cause let's see. I want to make sure I put a good outro in, and I hope Byron. Hey, shout out to you, Byron. Uh, I hope you don't mind me using your outro or using your video as the outro. But here goes.
Yo, yo,
Peace.
yo, it's your brother B. Washington, brother Washington, Byron Washington, coming to you straight live. Want to give a shout out to our brother Pianki Pata, aka DMG, aka got the baddest channel on the planet, Paradigm Shift 314. I really love this channel because it allows brothers and sisters from all walks of life, all spiritual traditions, to really come, dialogue, no BS, no fighting. Yeah, we turn up a little bit here and there, but we still do it to turn up in love, and we all try to build from each other, and I can really appreciate that. And the brother's real open because he's down for the people, no matter regardless of your traditions. Of course, everybody gonna have their own belief systems and this, that, and the third, but the brother is down for the people to allow us to build and really find a way to navigate in this world that's so oppressed us. No matter what your faith tradition is, what your worldview is, with your whatever the case is, we already know that in this society we become are a part of an oppressed society. So shout out to Paradigm Shift 314. Shout out to the brothers and the co-hosts as well. Nobody. So we just gonna keep it on rolling again. The hottest channel on YouTube.